Good afternoon, everyone. This is Leon Vainstein from Los Angeles, California. Rockets and drones are flying toward Israel. Over Tehran, Israeli planes can be seen freely flying in Iran's sky. Explosions can be heard. Khomeini and his family are hiding somewhere. Russia has refused to help Iran. The Iranian delegations responded, "Yes, we signed a treaty with you, but we can't help." We don't know yet how China responded, but the Chinese Communist Party did not make a loud rebuke to Israel. Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, well, let's say at the very least, are not capable of helping to defend Iran. Moreover, Syria has just offered Israel to deploy its own anti-missile and anti-aircraft systems there. I don't know what it's called, but the idea is to shoot down missiles coming from the Houthis, coming from Iran. And the United States, the Democrats, I would say, are the only force in the world that stood up to defend Iran from the terrible, bloodthirsty enemy, the Jews. Several questions immediately arise. Questions which I will answer at the end. Questions, predictions, what will happen, what could happen. Well, the first question will be this. How does Iran respond to strikes on military facilities? Of course, they fire at civilians. Where people live, work, study, hospitals, kindergartens, theaters, command posts. And the moral Iranian regime is trying to kill as many civilians as possible. By the way, all those killed by the Israelis on the first day of the bombing of Shiny were military personnel, even the scientists.
The supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is on the run because Israel has just carried out the boldest and most destructive assassinations ever. As a result of several precision strikes, Israel destroyed all of Iran's top military leadership and eliminated several of the country's leading nuclear scientists. Among the dead are the chief of the General Staff of Iran's armed forces, the commander of the IRGC, and the commander of Iran's emergency command. Iran's armed forces are in disarray after their leadership was decapitated. Even Supreme Leader Khamenei is hiding in a shelter, fearing that he might be next.
Israel has warned the Iranian leadership that the nuclear industry, including laboratories, centrifuges, and reactors, will be destroyed. And if Iran continues to fire at civilian buildings in Israel, then strikes will also begin on Iran's energy sector, which is the only industry where Iran makes money. By the way, I'm really waiting for China's reaction to what's happening. It will determine quite a lot. They might start supplying Iran with missiles, let's say, if Israel starts bombing oil.
Iranian media have been reporting throughout the day on Saturday that the Israeli Air Force has once again struck several targets on Iranian territory, including in the capital Tehran and the Kermanshah area. Explosions were also heard at the Isfahan power plant, and a representative of Takal confirmed that Israel struck 40 targets in Tehran. Iranian media also reported a strike on the international airport west of Tehran.
Israel bombed 40 targets. That's 40 targets in Tehran for the second day, including something near the international airport in Tehran.
Iranian officials sent a threat to the United States, the United Kingdom, and France, saying, "We will strike your bases if you help Israel intercept our missiles." As for the nuclear talks, Tehran's foreign ministry said that the United States made the talks meaningless when they allowed strikes against us. However, the Israel Defense Forces also had something to say about these talks. In a statement published on Saturday, the press service, Chahal noted, "If we deprive them of air defense and ballistic missiles, they will have no air force left. Eliminating the nuclear program will bring them back to negotiations on terms more favorable to us." But it's not just about air defense and ballistic missiles. After the publication of the names of high-ranking representatives of the Iranian army and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps who were eliminated during the strikes, the Israel Defense Forces press service is now revealing the identities of 9 nuclear scientists who were eliminated on the first day. The nuclear facilities in Natanz were also seriously damaged, and the facility in Isfahan, a component was hit, which will cause a delay of years.
The number of scientists who worked on the secret nuclear program of the Iranian army and were killed during the Israeli attack has increased from 2 to 9. Laboratories have been destroyed. Several laboratories have been destroyed. The leadership has been eliminated, and the reactors have been damaged. And the largest, as I understand it, their center, where they run reactors, centrifuges, and so on, is located in the mountains, in the rocks, approximately 100 meters underground. It's been breached and everything is located there. The Israelis don't have such bombs, and in fact, they don't even have bombers like the American B-2s that could carry such bombs. The Americans have them. We'll talk about that in a bit. We'll talk a bit later about what kind of involvement the Americans might have in this Iranian operation. Israel believes that everything they're doing now will bring Iran to the negotiating table, but from a much weaker position than the Iranians previously imagined. The United States and Israel actually have, in general, different goals and different objectives. The United States wants an agreement with Iran, no matter who is in charge, while Israel wants a change of power from a radical Islamist regime to something like what existed under the Shah. By the way, the Shah's relatives have become more active recently, as have the families of his closest associates. So it feels like everyone senses that there will soon be a struggle for power, and it's time, as they say, to come out of the trenches. But a change of power is still a long way off. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're not just days, but at least weeks away from an agreement, at least until both sides sit down and start talking. We'll talk again at the end about what might come of this, from my point of view. Because, as they say, all roads lead to Rome. So actually, I think that no matter what roads you take, they all lead to the same place, which I'll talk about at the end. So why is that? I think that in about a week and a half at most, maybe 2, the active military actions will end. Because, as we were told, Iran had 1,000 ballistic missiles at the time of the attack on Israel. They use about 100 per day. It's already been, 3 days, so at this rate they have enough missiles for another 7 days. If no one gives them new ones, of course, then after they run out, they'll have to negotiate while pretending they still have a lot of secret weapons. And before that, it means they were just feeling sorry for the Jews and weren't using their most terrible weapons. But now it means they're about to start. Russia loves to tell stories like this, before today or back then. If they do something like that, then we'll stop feeling sorry for them. Feeling sorry means they've killed 500,000 civilians. That's it. And that means they'll be hinting, of course, at biological weapons that have already been brought into the United States. They'll say, like, their sleeper agents will get the order and they'll dump something into all the water reservoirs. Millions will die in convulsions. And for what? Like, do you want to die for the Jews? Do you want to die for the Jews? But that will be in about 2 or 3 weeks. And for now, let's see. Maybe the Ayatollahs will take their families to Moscow and and then they'll run themselves from the Shaitan and the Shaitans, the little Shaitan from Ashaitan Israel and the big United States of America. Run, dear ones, may the road be like a magic carpet for you. And here is Benny Johnson talking about the wars America used to get involved in, and whether America wants to get involved in new wars now.
Over the past 30 years to drag Americans in and deprive us of our greatest treasures. All right, the sovereignty of our country. are men and women in uniform, and I'm already tired of it. We've all seen more than 10,000 American soldiers die in Iraq and Afghanistan. And for what, really? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. We just gave those lands back to the terrorists. For what, really? For the dream of bringing democracy. And how did that even work out? Now, an army of goat-herding terrorists from the 4th century controls Afghanistan. We basically handed Bagram over to the terrorists and the Chinese, and now we're evacuating all our people from the embassies. We have an embassy in Baghdad because it's so unsafe there. The country is so unstable. No, these adventurous wars were a complete and absolute failure. They destroyed the future of so many young Americans, they weakened our country, and they saddled us with uncontrollable debt. We don't want that.
Wars are the destruction of people and property. Of course, someone benefits from them and needs them for their own purposes, but for me, my family, and my friends, wars don't serve any positive function, only death and destruction.
I want Marines in Los Angeles. I need Marines in Los Angeles. That's what Marines are for. To protect America from foreign invaders, to defend our land, not to defend someone else's land, but to protect our border. It doesn't matter whose border it is, whether it's Ukraine, Israel, or Gaza. This is a matter of principle. It's easy to take a firm stand on this. That's why I want to ring the bell again. I just want to ring the bell and say, this is what we believe in, and I believe in it. I'm speaking on behalf of, I think, a huge number of Americans. That 70% of Americans say they don't want America to get involved in any more foreign wars. 70%?
70% of America doesn't want us to get involved in other people's wars and conflicts. Here's what Trump said a few hours before Israel's strike on Iran.
Look, it's very simple, nothing complicated. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Besides that, I want them to succeed. I want them to be exceptional. We will help them achieve success. We will trade with them. We will do everything necessary. I stopped the war between India and Pakistan, and I did it through trade. It was pretty cool, and no one has written about it from what I've seen. They were already preparing. Now it was Pakistan's turn to strike, and in the end, it could have led to a nuclear war. But I stopped it. I called everyone. I have a lot of respect for each of these leaders. I know them and I talk to them.
President Trump continues, saying, I stopped the war between Israel and Pakistan. It's in the same region of the world. I did it through trade. I want Israel to pick up the phone and call Iran. I want Iran to call Israel. I want them to live in peace. I am the president of peace. It's not beneficial for our economy. It's not beneficial for anything we're building right now. Actually, everything is going very well right now. This is a golden era. An end to war, said President Trump.
That's what Trump said about Ukraine, about Russia, about India, about Pakistan, about China, and now about Israel and Iran. We don't want to resolve conflicts by military means because each side thinks they're the angels and their opponents are the ones who are not. So devils, you could say, yes, devilish offspring.
The lie is that we are always on the side of the angels and everyone else are devils.
Which, of course, isn't true because it just can't be that way. Ladies and gentlemen, and as you probably understand, my feelings and sympathies are on the side of Israel. But besides that, I know how much the Jews want peaceful coexistence. But perhaps this is the fate that the Lord God has destined for his chosen people, to always live surrounded by hatred, fear, envy, and complete misunderstanding of why the Jews
are different from others. We have the General Secretary of the Supreme EE Nationalist Council, the head of the Al-Quds Force, the Iranian Revolutionary Commander EE, and the Deputy Chief of Staff of Iran. Talk to any EE American soldier, and then to a bunch of nuclear scientists from Cato. And then they bombed several airfields, destroyed several, batteries, anti-aircraft missile systems, and bombed several nuclear facilities. So I'm not going to call for war against these guys. But I'll tell you, if you know someone who is a veteran of the global war on terror, someone from the veterans of the global war on terror who was wounded or saw their Humvee explode, or, witnessed a terrorist attack in Iraq or Afghanistan, and most of them went through this 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100. This bomb was planted by Iran. The bomb was created in Iran and was deployed by Iran. Yes, many of these guys are bastards, and many of them were, just thrilled when they had the chance to maim or kill American soldiers. When we were on
The Middle East.
It's a disgusting place, honestly. It's not where I want to see our soldiers. Because monsters, goblins like these can maim and hurt them, and I never want that again. So, listen, I'm certainly not saying these guys are good guys. I'm just saying that it's, damn impressive that they were able to deliver such a pinpoint strike. Like, how the hell is that even possible? How do they manage to hit, for example, just one room in an apartment? They didn't even hit the whole apartment. They just hit one room and killed that guy. Well, my God, that's just crazy. Well,
All right, let's go.
let's focus on the bigger picture and discuss various topics. I'm not asking you to be Iran's or Israel's best friend. Do you understand? I'm just asking you to look at this as a modern military strategy, as a playing field. It's incredibly impressive. Take a look at it. Israel built a secret military base to control modern drones right inside Iranian territory. What? So Israel actually built its own highly secret military base right inside Iran? And then they launched drones from this base to carry out pinpoint, high-precision strikes on specific targets to kill certain people and conduct such attacks. It may sound unbelievable, but that's precisely how it unfolded. That would be an air defense system. I'm not exactly sure which one, what type, but it's an air defense system to prevent fighter jets from flying over your territory. They destroyed it, and now it's gone. Now, Iran has zero capability to control its own airspace, and as you understand, that means the country has effectively collapsed. I'm not asking you to take one side or the other. I'm telling you that this is damn incredibly impressive and frightening.
Yes, it's impressive. This was done by the children and grandchildren of those who were burned in the ghettos, who were shot by the tens of thousands lined up at the pits they themselves had dug. This was done by the great-grandchildren of those who thought that after 2,000 years of attempts, the people were destroyed and would never, ever rise from the ashes.
The Middle East is on the brink after Israel carried out a series of strikes on Iran's nuclear and missile facilities.
As a result of the attacks, Tehran's chain of command was destroyed, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that this is only the beginning.
President Trump urged Iran, quote, to make a deal while there's still something left before meeting with his National Security Council.
They removed all of Iran's top military leadership, the Air Force Command, chiefs of staff, a good dozen scientific leaders of nuclear weapons development, and by the way, what about Iran's spiritual leaders, the true rulers of the country?
Of the country? President Trump, over the past few days, has stopped the operation carried out by Israel to eliminate Iran's supreme leader. They already had him in their sights, but Trump stopped the operation, saying, Iran, take this as a sign to make a deal before it's too late.
Watch. Now he can answer the question you asked Benjamin Netanyahu, which he avoided answering. An American official told us literally in the last few minutes after your interview ended that President Trump did indeed cancel a plan in the past couple of days that the Israelis were developing to eliminate the supreme leader of Iran. So we can put an end to this issue for now, as President Trump is getting ready to join us here in Canada. And he is already making it clear how he will formulate his position in this standoff between Israel and Iran when he meets with the other leaders, Jesse. It's part of a long social truth, he says. Soon we will have peace between Israel and Iran. There are many calls and meetings happening. I do a lot without recognition, but it's okay. People understand. Let's make the Middle East great again.
Trump stopped the assassination attempt on Iran's chief mullah? Why? Well, maybe because Trump wants someone to be in charge of Iran to sign the peace deal. If this one gets killed...
The main one?
The Ayatollah, yes, so that they would either have to elect another one or gather and appoint someone else. Time is needed when the Iranian army will be doing something without supervision, shooting at someone. It's possible that the hawks will start doing something foolish, getting involved with China. Trump wants to send Putin to negotiate with Iran. Strange as it may sound, it's clear that no matter how it seems, Putin wants oil prices to go up. But Trump prefers Russia to mediate peace talks rather than be Iran's secret advisor, stirring up military action. So, under the table, so to speak, like, yes, we can't help you because we're stuck in the war ourselves, but at the same time, egging them on.
Today, the president stated that he's open to the idea of allowing Vladimir Putin to act as a mediator in establishing peace between Israel and Iran. And his approach to this new conflict has already earned him praise even from one of his harshest critics.
I support the administration's actions to help Israel defend itself. But Adam Schiff,
who once won the title of the most dishonest member of Congress, and not the senator from California we have, when a person lies, deceives, cheats, and so on, they get rewarded. And he said that he supports Trump in his position on the Middle East. I never thought I would live to see this moment.
President Trump gave an interview this morning stating that the United States may provide assistance to Israel regarding Iran. This statement came after a publication claimed that Trump had rejected Netanyahu's request to join the war. According to our information, President Trump is under tremendous pressure to intervene, to join Israel, to fly together with Israel, pressure from both sides. Calls are coming from all sides. Both Republican and Democratic senators and congressmen are calling the White House, demanding to support this move. Let me repeat that once again. Bipartisan appeals from the leadership on Capitol Hill, assuring the president that they will support this move, that he can count on them. This morning on the program, Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal agreed that the United States should help Israel. That's how the Uniparty operates, folks.
If diplomacy doesn't succeed and the only option left is the use of force, I would urge President Trump to act decisively so that after this operation, nothing remains in Iran related to their nuclear program. If that means providing bombs, provide bombs. If it means flying whatever bombs are needed, if it means flying together with Israel, then fly together with Israel. The worst possible outcome for the world is to go after the Iranian nuclear program and leave it untouched. That would be a catastrophe.
There are also reports that the situation in the White House is changing. Cabinet members who initially stated that they would not participate in the strikes themselves are now considering that possibility. The problem is that Israel does not have bunker-busting bombs or heavy bombers, which are necessary to destroy the Fordo uranium enrichment facility, the core of their nuclear program. This facility is built inside a mountain, hundreds of feet underground. Israeli F-35s can't penetrate the concrete layer of the base, but the United States can. We have both B-2 bombers and powerful bunker-busting bombs, all within range of Iran. Trump posted this morning, once again addressing the mullahs in Iran, to those who are still left, urging them to make a deal while there's still a chance, writing that Iran and Israel should make a deal and that they will make one. Just like I achieved an agreement between India and Pakistan. In that case, I used trade with the United States to bring reason, unity, and sanity to the negotiations with two great leaders who were able to make a quick decision and stop. In the same way, soon we will have peace between Israel and Iran. There are numerous calls and meetings taking place right now. I do a lot and never get recognition for it, but that's okay. People understand. Let's make the Middle East great again.
What we see is that the leadership of the Senate, Congress, and even the White House want to take direct part in the war in the Middle East. But the people, 70% of the people, don't want it. Not to mention that 90% of the population, even more than 90, don't want to send our soldiers to Iran. That means I think that Israel will be provided with the weapons they need. Well, like bombs. I don't know if the Israelis can get behind the wheel and operate the B-2. Maybe they'll work something out, find a few Jewish pilots and lend them to the Israelis. But the Americans themselves most likely won't go into battle, meaning the White House probably won't send actual Americans into combat. But the main thing is the leadership's willingness to destroy nuclear weapons. It will soon bring the Ayatollah to the negotiating table, and on terms they wouldn't have agreed to just 2 weeks ago. As a genius negotiator, Trump posted the following message at night on
United States of America have nothing to do with the attack on Iran tonight. If we are attacked in any way or form by Iran, the full might of the United States Armed Forces will come down on you on a level the world has never seen before. However, we can easily reach an agreement between Iran and Israel and put an end to this bloody conflict. Part of the initial concern was that this could provoke World War III. Last year, Russia, China, and Iran formed a military alliance promising to help each other in case one of them is attacked, a kind of their own version of NATO. And just yesterday, Iran took advantage of this by sending an envoy to Moscow with an official request for help from Russia. Unfortunately for them, Putin refused, offering only to act as a mediator in peace negotiations, but not to intervene militarily. This radically changes the situation. And from the point of view of Trump, who, as is well known, always puts America's interest first, unlike previous presidents who prioritized foreign countries over American interests, Trump looks at what is best for America.
I agree. Trump isn't thinking about his future books and millions or about other countries, but about how to make things better for America. And what's happening in Iran? How are the population, the leadership, the army, the mullahs, and the ayatollahs behaving?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to your global news channel. We have another breaking news story coming in from Iran. According to the Israel Defense Forces, specifically the Israeli Air Force, they continue to maintain control over the capital, Tehran. There is currently a mass exodus as thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people are fleeing the capital and heading to the countryside. Many of them are heading north to the Shamal Mountains, as they are called in Iran. And of course, the location of Al-Khamenei was determined, at least the area. We will explain what this means, where he is, and what is happening. Mossad is on site trying to track him down.
And this is the son of one of the opposition leaders, Mulam, who is trying to fight against the Islamic Republic.
The IRGC launched yet another
round, the Corps.
The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has once again launched a series of attacks on the state of Israel, and as usual, they decided to strike civilian areas. Haifa came under fire and the situation began to escalate. Because the IRGC doesn't actually strike military targets, unlike Israel. Israel strikes military targets. For example, one of the places that was hit tonight
by an Iranian strike tonight
was a synagogue. Yes, they just destroyed the synagogue. We are broadcasting live. I won't let you go in there. This is just disgusting. The Islamic regime of Iran.
Now we
confirm that more and more people are leaving the city. They are following the advice coming from the Israel Defense Forces, one of the few armed forces in the world that actually gives advance warnings and notifications. They told people to evacuate, and now Iranians are leaving the capital. Some of them left earlier this morning. Most of them are leaving the city now. Tonight, the Israelis are intensifying their campaign against the Islamic occupation of Iran. This is the Baha'i Highway, the main road in the northeastern part of Tehran, footage of which we are about to show you. Let's quickly review what we're dealing with.
As you can see, half of the highway, the right side coming from Tehran, is completely jammed, and on the left, the road leading into the capital is totally empty.
Some people have obviously already taken to the streets and are chanting against Ali Khamenei in Iran, as we also reported earlier. But where is the Supreme Leader? We thought that he was in Mashhad, the second largest city in Iran, in the northeastern part of the country. In fact, we now have information which has also been confirmed that he and his family were moved to an underground bunker in Lavizan, which is located in the northeastern part of Tehran. It's just outside Tehran. It's a suburb, but the exact location is hard to pinpoint. Early in the morning on Friday, when the Israelis started the attacks, a few hours later, literally just a couple of hours after, Ali Khamenei and his family were immediately relocated. Many thought that this move happened yesterday or around lunchtime or something like that. No, they knew that something major was about to happen, and it was probably best to relocate him. This was also confirmed, as they say, by informed sources. Iran International themselves also confirmed this regarding the location. This is essentially Mossad, as well as Mossad agents and assets gathering intelligence on the ground. And obviously this is
a psychological operation.
A media operation. The media was informed, confirming what we know. We don't know exactly where he is, but we're going to leak this information to scare them, like we kind of know where you are. Or to make them, so to speak, come out of hiding by trying to escape, or technically just try to do something else. Find information to narrow down the search for his location. So very soon we'll have a situation very similar to what happened with Saddam Hussein, unless he finds a way to get out through certain tunnel networks to escape from Lavizan. Despite the rumors, he's not in Mashhad.
The Iranians are hoping that what happened with Saddam Hussein will happen from Khomeini. He hides in some bunker, then is found, then tried and convicted. I hope that in Iran, Trump and Netanyahu, the Israelis, will handle things better than Bush did in Iraq in his time. And after Khomeini, better times will come for Iran, not worse ones. And now, to see one of the most popular Iranian bloggers today said what I, probably am saying, since the day of Hamas's attack on Israel.
When you say Islamic Republic, it's hilarious. When you say Islamic Republic, it's hilarious. I know the fanatics of the Islamic Republic. Carter says, poor Khamenei, he overplayed and now his government is suffering. But in his defense, I've never said this before, but in defense of this stinky, bearded, strange Ali Khamenei, it's not his fault. You know whose fault it is? It's that idiot rat Yahya Simba in Gaza who started all this. October 7th, like an idiot. October 7th.
Like an idiot.
He just brought down the entire Islamic Empire. Qasir, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, and Yemen all fell.
Besides the Democrats in Congress, people started appearing in the press who were horrified by the position of the Democratic Party. Here is one of the most left-wing journalists of his time, you know. Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo is the brother of the former governor of New York, who at one time was considered the front-runner, as they say, for president of the United States in the Democratic Party. Listen to how he started speaking in a human voice, not only about the Middle East, but also about the position of his own party. He is a Democrat, of course, when it comes to our domestic affairs.
It's about recognizing the reality of who these people really are. This regime, not the Iranian people. Condemning Israel's attacks is good, but what would be better? To call Israel a reckless and genocidal regime? How, when Iran has been actively trying for many years to get as many people as possible to kill Jews and Americans? Are these people in power in America, groups with real membership and genuine support, really going to side with the terrorists again? I told you that supporting Hamas wasn't a one-time thing. There are groups committed to fundamentalist, extremist ideas, which can come from a wide range of sources, economic, philosophical, and political realities. But they all have one thing in common, the desire to destroy our democracy and culture. That's why I tell parties to be careful with loud statements about destruction for the sake of change. I understand that talking about change is very fashionable right now, but you need to be more careful with such words. Change is good, but destroying who we are and what we have is not. Pay attention to the groups funded by the Shanghai communist businessman Neville Singham. I told you about him earlier this week. Look him up, Singham. And I'm not just talking about fringe radicals. We have perfectly legitimate lawmakers whose statements need to be taken seriously. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib supports Iran and calls Israel a rogue and genocidal state. Almost as bad are those people in her party who just sit and stay silent. Now is not the time for that. Dialogue, where are you a representative? Usually you're so eager for attention. Why such silence? Are you afraid that your fellow socialists who don't believe Israel has the right to exist will get upset if you tell the truth that Iran is an absolute enemy? If you're a feminist, how can you not condemn the fact that in Iran, you would be put in prison for the way you speak, for the way you dress? That they would kill your lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus voters? Now is not the time for silence or submission, and certainly not for a twisted reverence for a terrorist organization. Even Senator Bernie Sanders, I'm surprised, calls Israel's attack illegal and says it hinders negotiations. What negotiations? Isn't he a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee? Do you really think Iran will ever let anyone inspect their capabilities? Everyone, including the senator, knows it, but he doesn't adhere to it politically. They want to kill Bernie as a Jew, as an American, as an infidel. They want to kill him. They won't tell you the truth. They won't honor agreements. They never have. Tim Walz, who wanted to become president and vice president of the United States. He really wants to say that we lost the moral high ground by supporting Israel after the strike on Iran, and that now China has the moral advantage. Are you out of your mind? In China, 1 million Muslims, ethnic minorities, Uyghurs, are being held in camps. What are you doing? I know you think this is a way to attack Trump.
I've waited so long for someone from the Democratic Party to give this speech, and finally it happened.
But you look crazy when you play politics while there's a real terrorist threat against us. And don't say yes, no, just now because of what Israel did. No, as far as we know, Israel says they were forced to do it. We don't know why. Tonight, we will investigate further and await the president's statement. However, it's clear that Iran has committed terrible acts against us. One of their agents is now in an American prison for attempting to kill Trump. They tried to interfere in our elections. They launched ballistic missiles at our troops in the Middle East. They seized our military boat. Do you want to support something in Iran? All right, support the revolution. Don't support the despotic regime. Support the people who are desperate, oppressed, and enslaved. Urge them to fight for their freedom against the poisonous Islamist horde that has committed countless human rights violations against its own people. Call for this. I'm not saying that America should start a war. It's not my role to make such arguments. My role is to examine such arguments. But do you remember Masha Amini, the 22-year-old girl who was arrested, beaten, tortured, and killed by the Iranian police? Morality. The oxymoron of all oxymorons. Why? Because she wasn't wearing a headscarf. That's why AOK other women, defenders, and allies shouldn't stay silent about what's happening. This isn't Israel that's, well, beating someone up.
We covered it here at News Nation.
Iranians took to the streets. We covered it a lot here at News Nation, more than most. Protests were brutally suppressed by the regime. Freedom of speech is non-existent, and several protesters were executed. You know that being gay in Iran is a crime, right? You know that the punishment is flogging and execution? And you want to say that these people are victims of Israel?
The most important thing that Como said is that you, the Democrats, are doing this, which means you are putting America's interests at risk solely because you want to hurt Trump. Just to hurt Trump? Are you ready to sell out and betray your country, your homeland, your children, everything, just to make him, the devil Trump, suffer? That part I added myself. Let's conclude today's meeting with a few words from Victor Davis Hanson about the uniqueness of this moment in modern world history.
The problem is that the people he's dealing with make Vladimir Putin seem rational. They're madmen. And he understands that right now, at this moment, he has more leverage than any other president has had in half a century. Since these fanatics came to power, there is no Arab refuge with Assad for their terrorist money and weapons to spread. There is no Hezbollah, at least not for another year, and possibly no Hamas either. They're sitting in tunnels, and maybe the Houthis will launch a missile, but they're so scattered that everyone and Iran has no air defense. Israel has proven this to the whole world, so if Donald Trump wants to destroy their nuclear facilities, he can do it with minimal risk. Israel can do the same. That's a huge amount of pressure, so he thinks he'll tell them, this is your last chance in the next couple of months. You can negotiate with us, make a deal, and then you'll keep your regime. But we don't want you sending money to the Middle East for your tentacles to spread. No, they're cut off, and I just don't believe they'll ever go for it. That's their reason for existence, and they're extremely unpopular. So now the question is maximum pressure. Are you going to keep pressing them and pressing? They have power outages. They have resistance.
Minorities.
There is public discontent. But over the past 50 years, even during the Green Revolution, which Obama essentially ignored or wanted to fail, they still haven't managed to overthrow this government because it holds on through terror. And I don't think they'll succeed. So by the end of the year, one of two things will happen. They'll feel so much pressure that they'll try to make a deal. And if they actually make a deal, I can assure you they'll break it one way or another. That's how they are. Or Donald Trump will act in one of three ways. He'll tell the Israelis, do whatever is in your best interest, and we won't allow the Chinese, Russians, or North Koreans to interfere. You can do whatever you want. Or he'll join forces with Israel for joint actions? I don't think so. That's too complicated. Or he'll just do it himself. So,
either an agreement with the Saitols, which they will definitely break, or us. We are infidel dogs, so why keep our word? To infidel dogs? Either Israel will get depth charges, as I told you, and cleanse Iran, or the United States and Israel together will cleanse Iran, or the United States will decide to repeat Iraq and enter Iran, with their Marines, so to speak. So they're saying, well, boots on the ground, what am I giving? It's just 0.25% there, but still it's possible. Yes, they came in maybe the same way, but they behaved completely differently, not at all like they did under Vasha.
he proved it during his first term, when he, as they say, bombed Islamic State of Iraq and Syria to the ground, when he eliminated Baghdadi, when he got rid of Soleimani, when he wiped out the Wagner Group, that he is quite capable of carrying out retaliatory strikes to ensure deterrence from the United States side. I believe that's precisely what he'll do. I think he will negotiate all summer, and at some point he'll realize that he's just being led on. And then he'll call his commanders and ask how feasible it is. And they'll say, if you were ever going to do it, this year is the time. Because the intermediaries, you see, they've been cut off from the head of the octopus and are flailing, writhing on the deck. They can't do anything on the pier. They can't do anything at all. Currently, they pose no threat, and the regime lacks support. And then the only question left is how to do it. Should we do everything at once, destroy the nuclear enrichment facilities, try to bomb everything that could be a warehouse for 1 or 2 stray bombs somewhere in the country? Should we destroy the port facilities and drive up oil prices, deprive them of all their military power? And to what extent are you punishing the Iranian people, if you are punishing them at all? So these are all complicated questions.
We'll end here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have several paths before us, but it seems that all of them lead to the same thing: regime change in Iran. Unless, of course, 1 million Chinese move in and say, "We live here now," but even then it would still be a regime change. By the way, 1 million Chinese would be much better than the Ayatollahs. Better than the Iranians? Hardly better than the Ayatollahs. And how are the Ayatollahs worse? As they say in Georgia, 1 million Chinese are better than worse Ayatollahs. That's all for now. Goodbye. Subtitles created by